Larry, what are your thoughts on the Antonio Brown situation? One of your fellow wide receivers who approaches things somewhat differently than yourself.
No, I love AB. Mr. Big Chest is a good friend of mine, but I don't think he's going about it the right way personally. You know, to be able to play with an all-time quarterback like he's able to play with, I don't think he understands how good he has it. You know, it could get tough out there. It could get tough out there.
Wow, Larry Fitzgerald saying what needs to be said about Antonio Brown. And when you look at the list of quarterbacks that Larry Fitzgerald has had to endure over the course of his career, now, a couple of great ones in Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer, but the rest not nearly as great. All due respect to our friend Sean King. He was one of those guys. But plenty of quarterbacks for Larry Fitzgerald, not nearly as many for Antonio Brown. There have been games that Ben Roethlisberger's missed due to injury, but Roethlisberger's been the guy. Antonio Brown may want to be careful what he wishes for because the teams that have surfaced, ESPN reported on Friday night, Oakland, Tennessee, and Washington, the three suitors for Brown. Good luck finding a guy anywhere close to Roethlisberger in those three cities.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, first of all, there's so much to talk about. I know we've talked about this a lot last week, but Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, let's just jump off right there. I mean, first of all, yeah, Larry Fitzgerald would not go about this situation the way Antonio Brown is, certainly. You know, again, with Antonio Brown being on LeBron James' show on HBO, you know, what is it called? The show by, I'm blanking out. The Shop, exactly right. Where, you know, he starts going in on Big Ben and some of the situations that, you know, led to the demise of the relationship between him and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, and I understand his frustrations. I mean, the point he made about, hey, Big Ben Roethlisberger threw an interception to a defensive lineman in the Denver game and he blamed Antonio Brown. That was wrong. That was crappy. You know, I don't agree with everything Big Ben Roethlisberger does. We know that. He's got some issues too with the way he leads. But at the same time, Antonio Brown is only hurting himself with the way he's talking about this situation. Well, you and I know so many coaches and GMs around the NFL, and players that act this way does not make those guys, those coaches and GMs we talk about, feel comfortable about bringing in some supposed renegade into the organization where you don't know when he's going to spout off or be unhappy.
And based on some of the things he's been saying recently. Now, he's been on his best behavior, Chris, on social media since he had his meeting with Art Rooney II nearly 2 weeks ago. But the comments to the Shop, and those were taped a couple of weeks ago in connection with the NBA All-Star Game festivities in Charlotte. But the more recent interview with Jeff Darlington of ESPN, the things he's saying, I don't need football, and if they're going to play, they're going to play by my rules. That does not make a team anxious to give up significant draft pick compensation to the Steelers. Right. And the Steelers reportedly want a first-round pick. I don't know that they're going to get one, but the one thing that became clear to me last night, because I got my hands on Antonio Brown's contract, and the first look at it resulted in a conclusion that even if the Steelers keep him beyond March 17, there's a good chance that the next team would actually pay that $2.5 million roster bonus because the money gets paid out not in March, but during the season. So you could say, hey, new team, you're taking this guy on, you're paying the money. The Steelers don't want to take that extra $2.5 million cap charge. They're already taking $21.12. You throw another $2.5 on top of it. They're trying to avoid it. In fact, I'm told the Steelers asked Brown to delay the due date of that roster bonus to give them more time to trade him, and he said no. So there really is a sense that the deal's going to get done before that roster bonus becomes due. And you know, we've been saying, well, you've got to make the Steelers happy and you've got to give Brown a new contract. It's possible that they could do this trade without Brown getting his contract right out of the gates, that would be something that comes later with both sides taking a leap of faith that they would work out a new deal at some point down the road. That makes it easier to get this done by March 17 if it's just the Steelers and getting what they want and Brown being comfortable with the team he's going to.
Well, Mike, I saw you wrote so you don't think Pittsburgh can pay him that bonus as far as when the season starts? Can they spread it out then? And then if they were to...
Yeah, that's...
yes, go ahead.
That's how it's written.
Right.
That's how it's written. The contract is written that the $2.5 million is earned on... technically, if he's still on the roster after the close of business on March 16, that money is earned.
Right.
But it's paid out in weekly installments along with his salary salary during the season. So the Steelers could, in theory, trade him after March 17 and say to the new team, you're paying the $2.5 million, not us. That could happen.
Right.
But the concern for the Steelers is they don't want to take the extra cap hit.
Yes.
Because as of March 17, his cap number goes up by another $2.5 million, and it's part of what they're going to have to carry and what they're going to have to deal with. That's why they've asked him to bump that back. Just the mere fact that they asked him to bump it back, it tells me they're viewing that as the trigger for trading him. And I know we've got, what do we got? We got dinner at Arby's on this.
That's exactly right.
And let's make sure we're clear.
Yes.
If he's traded by the March 17 due date of the roster bonus, I win.
Right.
If they keep him after that, you win.
Yes,
is that right?
Exactly right. I can't wait. I like, medium well steak. I'm very fine establishment. I want a side of fries, maybe some adult beverages to go along with it. So
yeah, a couple 1942s, like 5 or 6 of them.
Exactly. That's right. 1942 is nice and expensive, so it really hurts your American Express card. But, I'm right there. Listen, I think the thing with Antonio Brown there, or the Pittsburgh Steelers, I should say, in this whole situation is they can't be afraid to have to be on the hook for this $2.5 million either. I mean, if they're not getting the compensation or having the conversations with some of the teams around the NFL and don't feel like they're going to get the value that's just for their team and their organization, then, hey, they got to be tough here in this one. This is not going to be easy, but regardless, this is Antonio Brown. He's one of the best receivers in football. He's acted like a renegade. He's disrespected your franchise. And I know there's maybe other people like a Big Ben who have disrespected him to a degree as well, but you can't start the precedence of, we're going to let our players call the shots around here, and when they're unhappy, they can start not showing up for practice or being late for meetings, and then, the squeaky wheel always gets the oil around here. They can't let that happen either, so they're going to have to drive a hard bargain, and this might get ugly, but Pittsburgh's got to be prepared to take that on.
Well, and that's what they have at their disposal. And I don't think that Antonio Brown, a.k.a. Mr. Big Chest, realizes what he's potentially walking into if the Steelers say, sorry, Antonio, we couldn't find an acceptable trade offer. We're going to keep you, because they could, for example, if he decides he's going to skip out on practice, he's going to show up late, he's going to break the rules, they could get tough with him, and they could suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team, and they could attack his signing bonus. They could attack that roster bonus.
Exactly.
That roster bonus isn't fully guaranteed when he earns it. He could lose that if he commits breaches of his contract within the confines of the different things in the labor deal that could cause that money to be lost. And if he ultimately says, I don't need football, I'm retired, fine, Antonio Brown, but you're going to have to cough up $11.4 million back to the Steelers that you've already received in signing bonus money that you've yet to earn. And I just wonder whether he understands that, Chris.
Yeah,
we understand it because we've been around it. But I think some of these younger guys who haven't had to deal with these issues, they think signing bonus is free money. They think they won the lottery. No, it is advanced compensation for services to be rendered. And it's $11.4 million as of right now that he has not earned, that if he would retire from the Steelers, if they can't trade him and he says, I'm done, he's going to have to come up with that money.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, they at the end of the day have a lot of power in this situation. Yeah, Antonio Brown can make it ugly and make it real uncomfortable for them and maybe try to act, even more renegade-ish to where it devalues his trade value. But if he better watch out for that altogether, or it might just piss Pittsburgh off and they might just go, the hell with it. Fine. You want to keep talking trash here, then we'll slow play this and take all day and really wait till what we get till we get an offer that we really like. The big number in this too, forget the $2.5 million on March 17th. The Steelers are on the hook for $21 million with Antonio Brown this year, no matter what, even when they trade him. So that is the big number I look at, to where they can't let 23.5 scare them off their mark as compared to 21 when it comes to that March 17th payment. They have invested a lot in Antonio Brown. They have dealt with his shenanigans and all the things that have come along with him. And like I said to start, they can't let guys start holding the team hostage and calling the shots around there.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And if they have decided, that this guy is someone that they want to be done with, then so be it. Take the best offer you can and move on. But if they really do have a hard floor on what they want for Antonio Brown and they don't get it, I think it makes more sense for them to dig in and play hardball with Antonio Brown, because if they don't now, there's going to be another Antonio Brown coming down the pike that tries to do things the exact same way that Antonio Brown is doing.
Right.
Then again, you could say they already have a guy like that. His name's Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, yeah.
But that's a different discussion altogether.
Yeah,
All right,
well,
we're going to take a break when we return.
Ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, even, hey, Big Ben, he might be a pain in the butt and not always perfect, but he's on time for meetings. He's prepared at practice, those things like that, too, where, again, those are issues that Antonio Brown has had while playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And let me just add one thing before we go.
Yeah.
I still think there's a chance that the reason Brown is saying all these things is that he knows that Roethlisberger, and I'm not saying this has happened, but I wouldn't rule it out, that Roethlisberger's already said to the team, look, it's him or me. I can't take this guy anymore. One of us is going and one of us is staying. And maybe Brown knows that, if that's happened. And maybe that's why Brown comes off as just so defiant and so confident that they are going to move on from him. And, Chris, that's a wild card in all this. If Ben has said, if this guy's not gone, I'm gone, then he is going to be gone by March 17 when that $2.5 million becomes.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.